What is punk?
I think punk to me means deciding that you are completely dissatisfied with the socio-political state of the world and of music, and have decided to make that known to the rest of the world by how you act, how you dress, as a kind of anarchist statement.
When I think of punk, I think of loud, fast, and aggressive music.
Punk rock to me means an amazing underground culture of kids who are here because nobody else wants them.
A musical movement about change and action, about forming communities that can be widespread and global or can be very localized.
You know, punk to me is just getting out there, being yourself, kind of fucking it up, doing whatever you want, you know. If you want tattoos, you get tattoos. If you want piercings, you get pierced, you know. Just be yourself, accept everybody for who they are. That's what's punk to me.
Really what I think is punk is if you just dig down really deep and find stuff that still fights, that still tries to go against the mainstream.
It's all about not counting on any systems or anything, just doing it yourself, promoting yourself, doing all that. That's what I think.
It's kind of tough because I think
really hard.
if you try to understand it, I don't know, it's almost like forced. I think you get it or you don't.
The general public's stereotypical punk would be crazy hair, the fuck you attitude.
They consider people in punk rock just irresponsible young people who don't get it.
Not to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
The mohawk, the leather jacket, the Sex Pistols, the Ramones, anarchy.
It's a huge misconception, the idea that it's all about destruction and anarchy.
It's leather jackets and
like anarchy,
big ass
stuff,
Liberty
and,
spikes.
It's someone who doesn't really care what other people think. The big druggies, all punks are druggies, which is totally not true.
Well, I think the whole fashion thing started with punks wanting to shock people into seeing a different way of acting and dressing because they don't feel as though society or the government is true to itself or true to its people, and that, you know, they think that people live in this kind of fantasy world, which is, you know, for the most part somewhat true.
Here's some person who's happy with commercial music. And whenever they play on the radio, whenever they shove down your throat, you're happy with the way the world works. And you want to be a part of that. You want to be a part of that system so bad. Then I don't know if you're ever really going to get what punk rock is. Because punk rock is this because we're not happy with that.
Punk music is such a powerful thing because it has the ability, it has the ability to organize youth. And like that's really important, you know, like to get people organized towards something. The good thing is there's bands out there that want to organize people towards a positive goal. The negative elements of it, there's people that have nothing to say.
Punk is definitely about activism. It's about speaking your mind, going against the establishment. It's making something new. It's about bringing people together for common goals and common causes.
I think it's imperative to have a message in what you're doing. I think that is what the bands that came before us had, and the reason why punk is still here today. You know, and if we don't carry that message along, then who knows what kind of punk will exist in the future. You know, it's already sort of been warped by a lot of bands out there, because they're not talking about the same things punk rock is always talked about. You know, and it's sort of morphing into this weird version of punk rock that can hardly be considered punk rock. Have bands out there calling themselves punk rock that I feel like I have nothing in common with.
Honestly, like, punk rock died when it got out of the basements, you know? Because all those bands were about, we need an extreme way to let go of our frustrations, you know? And they did that. But then it moved out of that to the suburbs. And I'm sorry, there's no hate in the suburbs. There's no hate in the fucking suburbs. So, like, punk rock moved to that area of the world and it died, you know?
It's kind of ironic, I guess, a store associated with rebellion and punk to be in a mall, but I mean, where else is it going to be?
Everything that starts out as a subculture and as an underground movement, if it's good enough, will eventually become corporatized, and like everybody will buy their hair gel and dye at the same place, and the punk outfit becomes a uniform at some point. I mean, look at a band like Good Charlotte, who has basically raped the punk image and sold it on MTV to preteens.
It's been a long time since punk's been like that. It's just more apparent now. I mean, if you look at the Sex Pistols, punk rock, people think they were like they commercialized a culture, but I mean that's what it was. It was like, let's make some money off this.
It was based on fashion from the beginning. Do you know how they got started? Check it out. Malcolm McLaren, when he got back to England after writing for the Stooges, he was like, I want to start a punk rock clothing store. It was like a vintage store, but everything they sold was pre-torn. He would tear it himself, put in fucking safety pins and little badges from bands and shit like that. His store didn't do very well, so he thought, I need some people to sell the clothes. Those people were Johnny Rotten, Sid Vicious, It was the Sex Pistols. All the shit they wore was because of him. He put them together because they were skinny, geeky-looking motherfuckers that looked good in tight clothes. That's not punk rock.
In the early days when it started out, it was all about not being involved with the system and rising against the system, and that just isn't as apparent in the mainstream anymore of what everybody considers punk.
These bands have always existed, and there's a place for them to exist on this planet, but it's sad to see that they're sort of flying the flag of punk and existing, and they're kind of just really spitting on the grave of bands who paved the way for bands like those them to exist.
I walked out of work and I was tired as hell. Another day come and gone, oh well. And somewhere there's a drink with my name on it. I ordered a scotch as I busted through them doors, till half on my jeans, the other half on the floor. And I saw you standing by that video game. I just said what I felt. If only you were lonely. If only you were lonely too. If only you were lonely.
We're drawn to punk rock because we don't feel like we fit in elsewhere. I think generally most punk rock kids are people who grew up and realized that they didn't really fit in with this group. They didn't fit in with this group. They didn't like this that they heard on the radio, and they didn't want to dress this way. They felt uncomfortable being that person. And at some point you're exposed to this punk rock community that says, hey, I don't feel that way either. It's like, wait, you don't feel like that? No, neither do I. Well, that's awesome. I thought I was all alone. You're not alone. There's this entire community of people who feel the same way.
I mean, I think punk and the words punk and community are like two very important words to have together, because that's what it should be. It should be a community of bands, of promoters, of kids that go to shows, all like working together for one thing. Punk rock's the kind of thing, like Frank said, where nobody owns it but you. You have to remember that, which is why everybody's like, oh, the music industry's so sleazy, why'd you get into it, or why'd you guys go to a major? It's because I know deep down that if we want to just destroy this thing in a matter of 24 hours, we could. If anybody tries to taint that, we could do it. Kill it before it gets rotten.
When I was growing up, that's all I did was go to shows, and I went to shows that were put on by kids, and it was in a basement somewhere or a hall somewhere. And it was amazing. I got to see my favorite bands in the smallest, most intimate environment ever. It was a place that you could go and you would be accepted where you weren't accepted anywhere else, And that was a great thing, it didn't matter if you were straight edge or if you were hardcore, if you were punk rock, if you were indie rock, whatever. You just went to shows. It's music made by kids for kids, and it really just shows you that nobody's more important than the rest, and you could do this, as long as we keep that mentality, that it's ours. We can do whatever we want with it. We can destroy it, or we can make it something amazingly beautiful. But ultimately, it's up to us, you know, because if we don't care, nobody else will. You gotta start a band, write a zine, put on a show, do something, you know? Don't just sit at home and talk shit on a message board, 'cause it's not doing anything.
Punk itself, you know, people say it was dead from the start, but that's bullshit to me, because what punk truly is it's about fighting for what you believe in and fighting for what's right. And I see that all over the place today. You know, so to say punk is dead, to me that's saying everything I'm doing is worth nothing.
Here's the thing, hands down, whatever you want to say about commercialization of it and mainstream, whatever, 5 kids from Jersey can start a band and change people's lives, people that they never ever thought they could ever meet, and fuck, that's punk rock to me, you know, like changing things from within the system and actually making a difference in people's lives, you know, like if we have a song that one kid hears and eventually he does something amazing, then I can fucking die happy. So whatever.
If only it was only I walked into the kitchen, I was tired as hell. Another day's here. Oh well, and somewhere there's a smile with my name on it.
A lot of places don't have a rave or anything, you know, don't have like a centralized, convenient location where you have like good rock shows. Everybody plays a rave. Everybody plays at least one of these rooms, you know what I mean? So like, you can see any type of show. You can see like George Clinton, and you can see like, you know, your friend's band, all under this roof, you know? So like, that's really cool that they have that. And unfortunately, Chicago doesn't really have that. We have like some really good venues, but we don't have the one venue, you know? We have several really nice ones.
All right, what else? I don't know, what does your music mean to you and like the fans, like, you know, how has it played a role in your life? Like, what does it mean to you really, like deep down, I guess?
I'm a big music guy. It's kind of all I do. So I'd be doing music anyway. It's just kind of how I do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's the only thing I do with my time. I'm not like, it's weird because it comes off mildly interesting occasionally, but in all actuality, I'm the least interesting guy you'll ever meet because I'm so one-dimensional. All I do is music, and so I mean, and all different types. And it's really cool that Fall Out Boy gets that. You know, this is what I get to do for a living. Is just music. You know, because that's what I would do anyway. I'd be putting all my money from working at Borders into it anyway. You know what I mean? So. I'm glad that I get to do it, but more than that, like it's really cool that, because I mean, I haven't been writing a lot of the lyrics, at least not since kind of the middle of the last record, so sometimes people would assume that doesn't really mean anything to me, but it's totally different because I take Pete's words and I write something that I think like mirrors his words or better fits his words, better projects his words, you know? And so on that element, like those words do mean something to me because I put the music behind it, you know, and I really believe in those words, and I really believe in pushing them forward. So what our music means to me is exactly what it means to everybody that listens to it. Yeah.
That's it, man. That's all I could come up with for questions, man. It was kind of cool.
You guys ready? We're ready.
All right.
He's up.
What do you do in the band?
Play guitar.
And you
Sing.
You were on the magazine that I was on.
Really? Which magazine?
EP.
Oh yeah?
Take it back Sunday.
Oh. I can't remember what was in there. Yes.
Yes, you definitely should. Everybody should have Jersey Pride.
I can't get over this thing, man.
Yes, this is good for making it its best. I mean, it's
serious.
TBC 5 million now. Got rubber bands for my shock
Somebody else
mount.
did this.
Very nice.
Somebody else?
Yes, I share this camera. I share this camera, man. Alright, well, I guess my first question is just a basic question. Like, what do you guys think about playing in Milwaukee? And
Ooh. We played here.
What's it like for you?
Okay. Fucking cold.
It's cold
Yeah,
as
that much.
shit. I think we played here piebald, right, our first time in
Yep.
a venue that had no heat. And I think we were all dry heaving because it was so cold after the set. We enjoyed it though. We had Mexican that day, I think. We had a good time, I think.
Crowd too.
Was
Yeah,
it?
I think so.
At that show?
Not that show.
No, not that show.
No, but later on.
Where did we play later on?
We played, that bar. that narrows it down.
You guys play at the Globe, or do you know?
We played the Globe the first time. And then the second time we played, I don't remember where.
Remember it was like that little sports bar?
Oh, yeah. It was fun. That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good times. Oh, that was good.
So like the basic idea behind this is like to get at like the heart of the punk community. So I guess what does the punk community mean to you, and like what kind of roles has it played in your like upbringing, you know, growing up?
Right. Well, let's see. When I was growing up, like that's all I did was go to shows, you know. And I went to shows that were put on by kids, you know. And it was like in a basement somewhere or a hall somewhere. And it was amazing. Like I got to see my favorite bands like in the smallest, most intimate environment ever. And I think that really does something for you. You know, it makes it accessible. And you know, like when I was growing up, everybody just was like a community. And now it's turned into more of an elitist thing, you know, which really sucks. And especially in Jersey, like
it comes in waves.
Yeah, it comes in waves. But like now in Jersey, like there's hardly any local promoters. Venues got shut down, and kids ruin venues, or other promoters tried to get real big and buy out everybody else. And it sucks, you know. There's no community anymore. And I long for the days again where like there can be like a local band that can draw 500 kids to a hall and just have it be like just this underground, just you know, like community where everybody's accepted no matter who you are. And I think that's very, very important. But unfortunately, it's, you know, sometimes it's just a pipe dream.
Yeah. Well, is there anything that you can think of that would turn that around, maybe?
People just gotta stop being assholes.
Yeah,
Seriously.
people need to respect property. I think that was the biggest problem in New Jersey. People breaking stuff, ruining venues. But then, like, the people that ran the VFW halls were greedy. So you had a lot of different factors involved in what kind of killed the local scene in that respect. I mean, there still is a local scene. There's new bands every day, but they don't have anywhere to play, which is a drag, you know?
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I think punk and the words punk and community are like two very important words to have together, because like that's what it should be. It should be a community of bands, of promoters, of kids that go to shows, all like working together for one thing, which is to have a good time and not get hurt or something.
You know, it started because, you know, it was a place that you could go and you would be accepted where you weren't accepted anywhere else, you know? And that was a great thing, you know, like it didn't matter if you were straight edge or if you were hardcore, if you were punk rock, if you were indie rock, whatever, like you just went to shows, you know? And you loved the music, and you just, it was this, you know, everybody helped each other up. If you fell down, people picked you up. You know, I remember going to shows when I was like 13 and being really small and like people taking care of me, you know? Sometimes it's not like that anymore. Kids just want to go and show how fucking tough they are. That sucks.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's up to us, you know, because if we don't care, nobody else will. You gotta start a band, write a zine, put on a show, do something, you know? Don't just sit at home and talk shit on a message board, because it's not doing anything.
That's kind of what this film is about, man. I just want to like break out of this.
It's true, man. Like,
scene, you know?
that's the thing, like, that really fucking gets to me is that, oh yeah, I'm gonna not go to a local show and not support a local band because, you know, I'm too cool for that. I'm gonna sit at home and talk about shit on a message board and be like, oh, that wasn't cool, or this band's not cool anymore, or whatever, and then complain that there's no shows, or there's no bands, or there's no scene.
I think we were really lucky in the beginning in the respect that, like, we had a lot of people that would literally come to our shows just because they were part of the scene that necessarily didn't like our band. They would just come to see us, you know, because we were on a bill, or just come to see the whole show that we were on, and that was the coolest part. Like, there's people I flat out know didn't like us, but like we're friends of ours or just involved in the scene and would just support us, you know.
If I could just get like 2 more questions for you guys.
Sure.
I kind of want to get like some insight from you on like the songwriting process that you go through, like, you know, what you think about like in the process of writing, you know, maybe what's behind it, if you want to talk.
Yeah, I mean, well, we all write together.
You guys all write?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
We all collaboratively write, and the only thing I really do by myself is lyrics, but even that stuff I run by Frank, or I'll run by the guys and say, they're kind of like a really good bullshit detector, and I'll ask if something's too corny or contrived, and they'll usually tell me right away. And like vocal melodies, but like we all like just get in a room, somebody has an idea, and then it becomes a song or it doesn't within about 40 minutes. Sometimes it takes weeks, but yeah, the process just really, we kind of all know where each other are going, so it's a very fast process. You know, the only reason it never takes so long is if something, maybe somebody's not getting something, or somebody doesn't see what somebody else sees. Maybe sometimes it's just one person that sees it, and they have to kind of fight it to get there, and then it gets there, and then it's cool, you know.
So what fuels it? You guys like feed off of each other, or is it like from your albums I get like this concept, you know, just like flows together so well, like it just just flows and everything fits together in its piece, and it's like so well orchestrated. Where does that come from?
One of the things about this band that like any other band that I've been in the writing process, we never had like the singer would come in or and freestyle with the band in like the really early fledgling of the song. And I think when that happens with this band, like our vocal melodies are very, very important, you know, because he just sings really well and has like really good, stop it. But yeah, like he'll come in and like we'll have like, all right, this is the basis of say this verse, and then he'll come in and be like, you know, just do like a vocal line, and then I'll write to that vocal line so that melodies can intertwine, you know, and some will be supportive, some will be doubling of things like that, and I think it all works together that way. You know what I mean? And then also it's like ideas for songs. The way so we'll write a song and it'll have like a different feel from what the song is actually about, and it puts a kind of spin of irony on it. So it's like nothing that we've done hasn't been thought out.
Yeah, like there's times where I'll say like, I think this song's gonna be about this, I'll have an idea, and then Frank will kind of very closely work with that idea and try to give it that flavor, as will like Ray and the drums, everything together. Try to like, you know, once we get the idea of what it's about, it gets a lot easier. And once you have fake vocals there, kind of like freestyle shit, you know if it's working or not. Like we've had stuff that basically shot in the crib like within 10 seconds because you tell like it's not gonna work. You know what I mean? With a certain vocal melody, it just doesn't mesh. And then, so.
I guess the last question I really want to ask is, what do you guys feel are like the strengths of punk music? What really keeps it together, like binds everybody? You know,
I think it's really, punk music is such a powerful thing because it has the ability. Well, basically, it has the ability to organize youth and youth culture and shit, and like that's really important. You know, like to get people organized towards something. The good thing is there's bands out there that want to organize people towards a positive goal. The negative elements of it, there's people that have nothing to say, and they're just organizing people towards, and they're just organizing people towards homophobia or something very negative. And like some people have no idea what's going on sometimes because they just like the music, you know. That's what I think as far as like the power of punk rock. And
it's weird that name nowadays is like, oh, you know, they look a certain way, or it's this. Really, I mean,
punk rock.
Punk rock. You know what I mean? The real meaning. I mean, the meaning of it isn't, you know, a style of music or a way you dress. It's, you know, a lifestyle and what you have in your heart. It really, that's what it is to me. And that's what it should be. I think, I guess, at least. But I think the most powerful thing about it is that it's music made by kids for kids. You know, and it really just shows you that nobody's fucking more important than the rest, and it's, you know, it's nobody's like a rock star. It's just, you know, like, you could do this, you know, like we're all in this together, and we're all out for each other, and as long as we keep that mentality that it's ours, you know, and as many greedy hands are trying to get into it right now, we have to understand that it's ours. We can do whatever we want with it. We can destroy it, or we can make it something amazingly beautiful. So I think that's the power of punk rock, is that anybody can, really. You can.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah, like, and the one reason that I personally got into music is because I knew that, like, with a band, the band I was in could drive it into the sun and nobody owned it. When I worked in other fields, I didn't like it because, like, other people owned whatever I worked on. Like, this is the kind of thing, like, punk rock's the kind of thing, like Frank said, where nobody owns it but you. You have to remember that, which is why, like, everybody's like, oh, the music industry's so sleazy, why'd you get into it, or why'd you guys go to a major? It's because I know deep down that if we want to just destroy this thing in a matter of 24 hours, we could. Like, it just, and if, you know, if anybody tries to taint that, we could do it and kill it before it gets rotten, you know? And that's like one of the other beauties of punk rock and you know, music in general, is that you really do ultimately own it, no matter who says they own you, you know?
Do you think that like punk's becoming like a mainstream?
I think it's big.
Economy, or like, do you think it's fucking exploited and stuff like that?
Absolutely.
Might as well be a cereal box.
Yeah.
Like, and it sucks. I mean, like, no one can ever fuck with the ideal as long as, you know, like, there's a number of people that keep it true. But the name's gonna get tainted, and the image, or whatever you want to call it, you know, the marketing schemes. I mean, dude, there's some old guy somewhere behind a desk devising the new punk rock band, you know? Punk rock band. But whatever.
But that happened a long time ago.
Seriously, it's been, you know?
Since, like, the Sex Pistols. I mean, if you look at the Sex Pistols, punk rock, people think they were, like, they commercialized a culture, they cannibalized, and I mean, I think they were a great rock band, you know, but I mean, that's what it was. It was like, let's make some money off this. And that was the idea behind their manager and everybody, and, you know, so it's been a long time since punk's been like that. It's just more apparent now. Now you can, you know, go turn on a commercial and there's like the quote-unquote punk rock girl with the mohawk, and she's being shitty to her parents.
There was a car commercial with a Dickie song in it. Yeah, like a Buzzcock song, selling an Audi, like...
The first time I remember, dude, was the Ramones.
Oh, yeah.
Budweiser one. Or it was Miller Lite with the race car. And they had Ayo, Let's Go, got Blitzkrieg Bop playing, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Hands down, whatever you want to say about commercialization of it, and mainstream, whatever, 5 kids from Jersey can start a band and change people's lives. People that they never ever thought they could ever meet or ever have like had their ideas put across to, and you can now, when in doing that, you have such a soapbox to have an amazing message to people, and fuck, that's punk rock to me, you know, like changing things from within the system and actually making a difference in people's lives, you know, like if we have a song that one kid hears and eventually he does something amazing, then I can fucking die happy. So whatever. You know?
Right on.
Dude, you guys gotta be fucking free. So, I'm so sorry. No, don't worry. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm gonna be right up front though, so. That was awesome. That was awesome. Good luck, guys. Thanks again, guys. Thank you.
Good luck.
Punk rock and the definition of punk rock and what people have been exposed to by the way of punk rock is so much different than what somebody else is exposed to. You know what I mean? I think you can say, there can be a kid saying, oh, I listen to punk rock, and he means Good Charlotte and Simple Plan. You know what I mean? Or somebody else could say, oh, I listen to punk rock, and he's talking about Los Crudos, and he's talking about, you know, hardcore, and he's talking about Black Flag and Iron Threat, you know? And so whenever I hear the word punk, you know, it's a little suspect as to where it's coming from, who's talking about it. So.
Right. So what does it mean to you?
Punk rock to me means an amazing underground culture of kids who are here because nobody else wants them.
What about you guys? I never really fit in with what was expected of me in high school. Yeah, it's oh god, just
like, you know, views like my parents like put on me as a child, like just being in sports and like going to college.
They wanted to be a
Right.
power lifter.
Like a fucking suit and tie. Yeah. So.
That was a joke.
So you started to rock.
I got my muscular physique.
No, but like, I mean, after hearing bands like the Ramones and Suicidal Tendencies, you know, growing up, it was something I could relate to. You know, it was just so like completely different than anything I've heard on the radio. And my sister got me into it when I was really young, and I always felt like this like bond, this connection with that type of the music scene, and even with the skateboarding scene in like the '80s. Wasn't obviously as mainstream as it is now, but so yeah, we're all just like fuck ups, and we've all come together basically in this room.
Here we are.
Here we are against this purple wall.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say something completely stupid, so I won't.
Okay. All right. A lot of people, people that I've talked to, like, and even our teachers are like, well, old punk rock and new punk rock is really different. Can you relate, like the Sex Pistols and that, like, what was behind that punk movement to today? What's behind the movements today?
I think today's punk rock movement, and if you're referring to the mainstream punk rock movement, you know, all these bands that are all on TV, all over, selling millions of records, and that kind of punk rock that exists today has a lot more in common with, if you want to about a 70s genre, a lot more in common with like Poison and Motley Crue than it ever did with the Sex Pistols. You know what I mean? Like bands like Poison and Motley Crue and Bon Jovi was a very image-driven rock geared at like specific people. It's the same thing as a lot of those punk bands. It's just there's more image than there is substance, you know. And it's sad to see it. You know what I mean? Like these bands have always existed, you know, and there's a place for them to exist on this planet. But it's sad to see that they're sort of flying the flag of punk and existing, and they're kind of just really spitting on the grave of bands who paved the way for bands like those them to exist. Bands that made the punk spirit and kept it alive.
It always seems like there's bands like you have the monetary gain side and then the social change side, you know, and it's like that just kind of, you know, it's like different ends of the spectrum. But yeah.
Okay, so like, for example, like a lot of people would say punk is about anarchy and it's about violence and destruction and all that kind of stuff, and it's not really about having a message so much as saying fuck the system, and they don't really have anything to put in place for the system. Is that different today? I mean, I think it's different today, but
I think it's different today. I mean, if you're somebody who's trying to say that punk is about not having a message, that's a message. You know what I mean? Punk has always said something, you know? And it says something it speaks differently to somebody who loves Crass, you know what I mean, as opposed to someone who loves Lagwagon, as opposed to someone who loves, you know, Rise Against or Bad Religion or From First to Last or Plan Night. It speaks differently to those people, you know. I think that people are out here for different reasons, you know what I mean? And a lot of them are really good reasons, and those are the bands that kind of stick around and people will realize that they're here for the right reasons.
I know a lot of you guys are straight edges or vegan. How does that play into your music, and why is it important to you guys?
Well, we're all vegetarian, not vegans, but it's. I don't know that it really plays directly into our music. You know what I mean? Like we're not strife. We're not out there singing songs about being straight edge. You know what I mean?
Like personal choice individually.
Yeah, and, you know, we don't have a specific animal rights songs, even though it's something that we all believe in. You know, we have songs that we feel like writing. You know, just kind of come out of us. There's not an agenda behind it. We don't map out what this song is gonna say. We just, you know, I read all the lyrics and I'm just basically speaking like from basically my heart. You know, and it's not something that I'm like I need to convince people to do this and therefore I'm going to write this. You know, it's not what it is. It's just feelings, you know, it's whatever I want to write about that at that time.
Okay, awesome. Do you think activism and having a message is important to the punk community? You kind of touched on that a little bit, but I guess maybe to refine the question, like how is activism a part of the punk community, and what's good about it?
I think it's imperative. It's punk community, to have a message in what you're doing. I think that is what the bands that came before us had, and the reason why punk is still here today. You know, and if we don't carry that message along, then who knows what kind of punk will exist in the future. You know, it's already sort of been warped by a lot of bands out there, because they're not talking about the same things punk rock has always talked about. You know, and it's sort of morphing into this weird version of punk rock that can hardly be considered punk rock. Have bands out there calling themselves punk rock that I feel like I have nothing in common with, you know, at all. You know, if someone would say, "Oh, your band's like, you're punk rock, so you're like this band," and it's like, no, I don't even think about that band. They don't even come into my day to day. You know, they're not a part of what I do. I think the message is so important. You know what I mean? Because, you know, like we said earlier, like we're drawn to punk rock because we don't feel like we fit in elsewhere. You know, I think generally most punk rock kids are people who grew up and realized that they didn't really fit in with this group. They didn't fit in with this group. They didn't like this that they heard on the radio, and they didn't want to dress this way. They felt uncomfortable being that person. And at some point, they probably felt like there was something wrong about them. You know, there's something wrong with me because I don't want to play football, because I don't want to go to school for business and work a 9-to-5 job, because I don't want a white picket fence and 2.5 children. There must be something wrong with me, you know. And at some point, you're exposed to this punk rock community that says, "Hey, I don't feel that way either." You know, it's like, "Wait, you don't feel like that?" "No, either do I." "Well, you know, that's awesome. I thought I was all alone." You know, you're not alone. There's this entire community of people who feel the same way. You know, and that's what's amazing about punk rock, is that camaraderie, you know, and that number of people out there who encourage the rest of those people who feel alone to understand that there is an alternative to dog 9-to-5 way of life. There is an alternative, you know, and we're here, you're here, everyone who's going to show tonight is here. We're all here together to show the next generation that it can happen.
Do you think that punk rock is more based around like the music, or like punk is more based around music or the lifestyle, or where does it come together? Does the music come out of the lifestyle, or vice versa?
I think it's all kind of like intertwined. Yeah, I mean, the feeling I get listening to like an Adolescence record or something, it makes it, I don't know, it kind of like you can use it as like a soundtrack to your day-to-day life, and it makes me feel better to hear aggressive music as opposed to me listening to like Christina Aguilera. You know what I mean? Like I think I need to hear aggressive music or else I'd go nuts. And there's just something about, you know, even Bad Religion's like, you know, Suffer, any of those records, it's like hearing those riffs, it's like, I don't know, it makes me feel like, all right, everything's gonna be all right, kind of feeling that.
If it goes hand in hand, lifestyle for sure, like especially like you're talking about issues in punk rock with these guys straight edge, you know, I think if you're straight edge or you're vegan, you know, I think that lifestyle and that ideal and like those beliefs, I don't think they produce a certain kind of music, but they obviously go like hand in hand. If you've grown up listening to like straight edge hardcore and that's like your lifestyle, or you grew up listening to bands that like, you know, are into like animal rights, I think you'll probably end up moving on to creating music that sounded like, you know, that made you feel a certain way at that time. So I think, yeah, definitely lifestyle and music is totally intertwined.
But what do you guys think are some of the common misconceptions that people have about like punk kids and punk rock in general? Like the real punk, like true punk rock, not the crappy shit.
Misconceptions. That we're all a bunch of jobless wonders who just want to
not to be taken seriously.
Yeah, and just like, you know, I think just the fact that they consider people in punk rock just irresponsible young people who don't get it. You know what I mean? That's the way I was looked at when I was in high school. It's
He'll grow out of it.
Yeah, exactly. He'll grow out of it. You know what I mean? He'll get it. You know what I mean? Like, this whole band thing you're doing, that's gonna go away. You know what I mean? You should stop wasting your time. You should really involve yourself in sort of extracurricular activity like student council, because it's really going to get you a lot further than this stupid little band. You know what I mean? And even like my parents were like that. You know what I mean? Like when I quit sports in high school, like my dad was ready to slit my throat. You know, he was like, "Are you kidding me?"
I've seen the knife.
It's a large knife.
It's really nice.
And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" You know what I mean? And I was like, "Yo, just trust me. Like this is where my instinct is taking me, and like, this is what I want to do." You know, I did. And like years later, like you know, I'll look back and say, "Oh, you know, this is what you were doing." You know what I mean? 10 years later, you're still doing it. You know, and this is what makes you happy. You know, I get it now. You know, and I feel like, you know, for someone like me who was like a 16-year-old kid to teach a 40-year-old guy a lesson, you know what I mean? Like that's an amazing thing. That's what punk rock is here to do, is to show people like, hey, we're not just these crazy kids who don't get it, you know? We're people who get something different, you know? We get it a little bit different. We see the world a little bit differently. We don't really want to be a part of the world that's already been created for us. We want to be a part of our own world. And that's how I see it.
I don't know. How would you guys describe like punk to somebody who has no idea what that is? You know, like how would you?
DMR is it's kind of tough because I think you either you get it or you don't.
Yeah.
And if you try to understand it, you like, I don't know. It's like it's almost like forced, and I just think it's something like you're born a certain way, and it sounds stupid, but I mean it's true.
Mm-hmm. I think if you're some person who's happy with commercial music, and whenever they play on the radio, whenever they shove down your throat, you're happy with
the white baseball hats.
You're happy with like the way the world works, and you want to be a part of that. You want to be a part of that system so bad. Then I don't know if you're ever really going to get what punk rock is, because punk rock is this because we're not happy with that. You know, punk rock is this because I'm not happy with the status quo. I want to be something different. So if you try to explain to someone, they're not going to feel like that anger that you feel. You know what I mean? They're going to have some completely different feeling. They're going to be like, wait, why don't you want to just come over here with me and we can just go drive my Volkswagen around and, you know, or go over to Starbucks and hang out, it'll be great. You know? It's like, you know what I mean? Like if you don't get it, it's going to be a hard time explaining to them, you know? And it's funny, Joe mentions we did our last record with some guys who really weren't punk rock, you know what I mean? And they weren't apologetic about it at all. They're just like, hey, I don't know what punk rock is. You know, I grew up on, you know, like, I mean, we're talking, yeah, guys that grew up on like big rock records, you know what I mean? They just never got exposed to punk rock. And in doing our record and doing like a Rise Against record, like we sort of felt it was essential that you had at least a little bit of understanding behind punk rock, or you wouldn't get what we do, and you wouldn't lay down our songs the way they should be laid down. You know, we don't want Kiss's production. You know what I mean? We want something different. And so we really made an effort to sort of bring them, you know, to where we were and say, this is what we do. This is the kind of band we are. And it came from just many conversations, just hanging out with these guys over the course of like 6 weeks. And slowly, like they slowly sort of understood, you know. I don't know if they agree with it, but they slowly like understood what we were talking about, so.
Another question that's like, it's kind of on my mind a lot, but is like the music culturally isolated? I mean, as far as like a black and white issue, I don't. And does that have anything to do with anything? Like, you know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Like, there seems like I don't see a lot of people like I'll see some like, you know, Asian kids at a show, but like I don't see a lot of like colored kids, you know, you know, and like I know a lot of kids, and they like rap music and stuff. Is there like something? Is there like a cultural divide? I've always wondered about that.
There definitely is. And actually, there's a documentary called Afro Punk that was put out pretty recently, and it's all about that. It talks to a couple of African American kids who are into punk rock, you know, and talks to the guy from 90 Day Men, talks to Matt Davis from the Bayou Blue and 10 Grand who passed away last year. Talks to these people who you know are part of the minority because they're not the white kids at the shows, you know. And I mean, realistically, you're right. I mean, there are majority white kids out there, you know. And honestly, I don't know enough about sociology to figure out why that is. You know what I mean? I don't figure out how punk rock enters a bunch of white kids' households, but not, you know, minorities. But you're right. There are some out there. Not to say it's like a completely white kid thing. You know?
It's strange, like bands like the Bad Brains, all black punk rock band, but
and all their fans are like all white. And you see pictures of their old shows and stuff.
But it's amazing that, to my knowledge, there hasn't been more that way, But they've been around, I guess, since '79, and I don't know any all black punk bands besides them. It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I always think about it. It's like there's got to be kids out there that feel the same way, and the music speaks to them, but for some reason it doesn't reach them, or what?
Exposed to it at a young age.
Yeah.
But
that's
a lot of them don't even really think about it existing. It's just because they're exposed to it as a child.
But musical genres have always been, branches of other musical genres. Like folk came from like which morphed into rock music. Which morphed into like the whole hippie culture of like Van Morrison and all these bands like that. And that whole lineage of bands were mostly white dudes playing songs for white people. You know what I mean? And that all morphed into like a rock scene. So if you grow up listening to a lot of rock in your house because your parents listen to rock, you know what I mean? Then maybe you'll go listening to like a different branch of that rock, which would be like punk rock stuff. I don't know.
There's also a lot of hip hop that it's similar to punk rock lyrically. It's definitely political and like anti-mainstream.
Public
Enemy. Just happens to be like hip hop. So it's not like they don't have protest music.
So you can kind of make that to
different stuff.
Yeah, hip hop and punk rock are probably the closest cousins in every musical genre. Hip hop came from the streets. Hip hop
even folk music, I think.
Yeah,
for sure. Bob Dylan.